Alright, so I'm going to be making a eyeglasses case. Let me... Okay. Yeah, gonna be making my eyeglasses case, hopefully finishing it. I tried to start this a couple days ago and was having many technical difficulties with my camera and my headphones. Here's Jonesy. So had to delay a couple days to figure things out. Changed from Streamlabs to OBS. I got my new camera set up, so I don't have to use my poor little phone anymore. I did have my phone set up here in this corner, and was doing streams that way, but with the camera set up in that corner, it is way too zoomed in, and you're going to see like this, and I'm going to be out of frame like 90% of the time. So I figured I'd stick you guys way up there, and so you can see my whole desk, and I'll try to get some close-ups and stuff, but I got maybe like not even an hour in on the last stream when I started this, so I didn't get super far in making this. Yeah, I using this book, making leather bags, wallets, and cases. They are pretty simple designs, and I've made a lot of these projects before, and I really like them, and they tend to follow the same template. So this is the eyeglasses case that I'm going off of. Should look roughly like that at the end of it, but I'm going to be using like magnetic snaps instead of these little push-through metal pieces. But it's the same as, you know, making like the coin purses or something, just elongated. So she's got a whole template page in here, and which is amazing, and I just traced that out onto some cardboard so it's a little easier to cut out without cutting out my templates too much. And I forgot to cut out one piece of it, so I'll have to do that. I can do that later, because when you fold this up, there's supposed to be a little strip in here with a loop that the sunglasses sit on top of, so there's like a little nose band in there for the sunglasses to rest on, and I need to cut that out, but I have the main body of it done. So I've cut out the pieces. I have this kind of like double-sided tape, leather tape stuff in here that I stuck in between the layers so that I can put my leather on my little press here and punch out all my holes I need to stitch these pieces together. So I have stitched these together, and I'll probably just start sewing the pieces together. I'll have my little book open here on the side just so that I am on track for, you know, just making sure I'm doing things in the right order, because sometimes I forget a step and then it makes things more difficult down the line, and if I just have the step-by-step in front of me, I might as well use it. So yeah, I'm just going to sew this together. I think I'm just going to use, depending on what type of thread I want to use, I have my regular black thread, and I also have a thicker, like turquoise thread here. I've been using the turquoise thread a lot, just because I like it. I like the turquoise. I used it on my watch band that I made recently. So yeah, I like this thread, but it's also pretty thick, and this is a lot thinner in comparison. I think I'm just gonna do, I'm gonna go, wow, the design choices are so hard. I'm just gonna go simple. I'm gonna do black, I did not dye this piece at all. If I wanted to dye it, I probably still maybe could at this stuff, but I just want to leave it basic veg tan. I'll just have it in my purse, and it'll eventually get a nice kind of worn color. Um, this design for this purse came in that same book, and this bottom part here was originally undyed veg tan like this, and it looked the same color. So this will eventually get all nice and worn and look like this over time. So I really like this, and I don't have to do anything to it to make it look like that, so other than just use it. So I'm gonna leave it. It's just for me, and it's what I like, so I'm gonna do that. So usually what I do, it's always nice to have excess thread and then cut off excess instead of stressing and not using enough, and you're getting to the end of it and you're like, oh, I don't barely have enough. So I like to measure at least, so I take my thread and I measure how much I'm going to need for the project, and then I do twice that, because you're going to have to loop the thread over on itself and use 2 needles on each end, and I give myself a bunch extra just to have stuff to work with, so I'm not stressing about it. And then I cut it, and I have a bunch of needles here. So luckily these needles have pretty big eyes on them. I don't know how close I can get without it unfocusing, or maybe I can just refocus. There we go. Some pretty big eyes on them. And love threading them because they're super easy to thread, and super thick needles. They do have somewhat of a sharp tip on them. I have stabbed myself plenty of times with these, but I don't know, they're nothing crazy. So I just thread it through, fold it over, give myself a tail, and do the same on the other end, so you have 1 needle on each end. And then I hold the needles together, and I find a little midpoint there. So I go in through the front of my project, grab my other needle, and I find like the midpoint of the thread there. Take the top thread and needle, go through the front of the project again, pull it through, but not so much that it pulls the thread through the other way. And then I take on the back of the project, I kind of just pull this thread aside and punch through till I get to the front, and I just tighten it. I do have a stitching pony. I'm like debating if I want to pull it out. So stitching pony is just this wooden, it's got a base, and then it's got a piece up, and it's got a little clamp that clamps your work together so that you can just have it and sew with it and not have to flip it back and forth. I really like it when I'm doing a lot of stitching, and or like just working with kind of, I don't know if you want to call it like unruly pieces of leather that are just kind of flopping everywhere and just awkward pieces, but I don't know that I want to bust that whole thing out just for this strip, because it's not going to take me too long to do. I do have, just recently got a sewing machine that apparently is supposed to be able to do leather. I haven't tried it yet. It is not currently at my location, but I do have one, and a little nervous to use it because it's obviously a lot faster paced than what I'm doing. And with leather, it's I don't know, it's like once you make a hole in it, you can't go back. That's it, there's a hole. So I just get nervous about, I guess, going crazy with the sewing machine and then not being able to fix my mistake as much, but I'll have maybe some small practice pieces to work on or some scrap leather that I'll figure things out with, but so far every project I've done, the purse I showed earlier, my other purse that I've made a briefcase, I've done a bunch of stuff, everything has been totally hand stitched thus far, which on one hand is kind of fun to say because people usually are like, whoa, and very fascinated by it, but also my hands hurt at the end of it, so whether it's worth it or not, I don't know, but yeah, so just stitching this thing up. This is my first time using OBS. It seems to be more straightforward than going through Streamlabs, but I am sure there's things I need to figure out on this too. Last time I was able to have chat up on the screen so that when I put this up later, I'm going to put all my stuff that I stream and then whatever highlights I make on YouTube so that myself or whoever can go back and watch the whole thing if they so desire, but it would be nice to have the chat on the video so that if I'm responding to something, it would be nice to see what the actual message was. And I noticed that on my first video that I was doing a highlights video for one of my taxidermy streams, was that I was answering questions, but I didn't have the chat on the video, so when you were going to go watch the highlights, I was just responding to like comments or questions that we had no idea what they were. So I guess I'll maybe just repeat whatever it is, or I don't know, I'll figure it out. But this whole thing is a big learning experience, so either way, I'm doing my hobby and making stuff I want to make, and people enjoy watching it, and or I mean, even if they learn something from it, then that's cool, and that's what I'm trying to make these for. So I don't know how many people are into leatherworking these days, if it's a declining thing or if it's something that's, I don't think it's gaining popularity necessarily, but I also don't run into leather workers left and right out in public, so yeah. I am totally self-taught. I just got a leatherworking kit, I guess a trunk full of leatherworking materials years ago, and it was something that was willed to my dad from an old neighbor, and we weren't really expecting it, but we were definitely going to take it. We were happy with it, and my dad was like, oh, I think you could do stuff with this, because I was very into like art and drawing and things like that, and he was like, well, I think you could do something with this leatherworking stuff, and I was like, yeah, and I kind of messed around with it a bit, but never really made anything at all, and kind of just sat with it. I was still living at home with my parents, I was still in school, I just didn't really have like time or I guess the space to do big leatherworking projects. And then I moved out, and I think like maybe late 2021, I made my first ever leather project. It came in a little kit that was in the trunk full of stuff, and it was, I think, the super old like Tandy's a leatherworking store. It was a super old Tandy like pre-made kit where I had all these pieces of leather that were already pre-cut out, and I had the thread, and I had everything you needed to make a wallet. And I think I actually have it in my old purse. Yeah, so yeah, dead neighbor with the win, absolutely. Yeah, so this came in that kit, and this is my first ever wallet that I made. I'm still proud of it. It is super chunky, but you know, it did great, and this was my first time kind of carving into leather and working with it, and I made something functional for myself that I carried this around for a few years, um, until I made a new one because at work I wear cargo pants and just this was getting too chunky and um, wanted to see what other kind of wallet I could make for myself. And um, yeah, it was my first ever leatherworking project, and you know, she's still going strong. But yeah, we used to have this old neighbor that totally like lived by himself. Um, you know, I don't know if he really had much like family or anything around, but my dad would go hang out with him sometimes and just, you know, hang out with this older guy next door, and saw this big trunk that was, I don't know, sitting in his house somewhere, and I think probably asked him what was in it, and it was all this leatherworking stuff. And, you know, my dad thought it was cool or whatever, but I don't think they really talked much about it. And then, you know, a couple years pass, and I think he went to like a home somewhere. He couldn't really take care of himself anymore, and like died pretty soon after that. And then I think a few months later, like some totally random person came knocking on our door and was like, "Hey, like Bob left this for you in his will." And we were like, "Whoa, okay." And all of a sudden, I just came into this huge trunk of leatherworking supplies, which was great for me because this stuff does not come very cheap. So I had a bunch of, you know, uh, yeah, stitching needles and threads, and even some leather scraps and leather templates. So when carving designs on leather, there's, you know, obviously different designs you can do, and there's these kind of plastic, like they're raised on the backside, the outline of it. So you get the leather wet, and then you take this plastic kind of template of the outline of the design you want to do, and you rub it on there so it kind of transfers the outline on there. And then you can take your, this is a swivel knife. You can take your swivel knife and then just carve and actually do all the design, and then you have different textured stamps and stuff that you can do in there to add, you know, leaves or fur or I don't know, whatever the design calls for. But so I had a ton of those stamps, which was nice because those stamps aren't super cheap either, and the templates were really nice. And I've made a lot of stuff with them, and I've even kind of like taken certain elements out of different templates and been like, well, I want like the horse out of this one, and I'll just like rub the horse on there, and I want like the cactus out of this one, and I want the coyote out of this one, and kind of piece them together, which is kind of fun. So I've gotten to the end here. I went back on the front. I had the last stitch here. The thread is on the front, so I just went back through one hole, so this hole has 2 stitches going through it. Back to the project. So I'm just going to pull these kind of tight. Luckily I ended up with a lot of thread left over, and wherever my scissors went. Am I blind? Oh. Cut these kind of short. I used to tie them in a knot and like flatten them out and whatever, but I don't know how much more secure that is. Now I've seen other people online, they just cut them short and burn the ends so that it kind of makes that little, I don't know, dot at the back. So I just burn the ends of the leather, maybe press them flat a little bit, and there it is. So I have these 2 pieces totally sewn together. Beautiful. I think now I need to cut out that piece that I forgot to do, the little noseband that, I mean, I could leave it out, but I kind of want to cut it. So yeah, this is going to go like this. These are going to fold in and line up like this, get folded in. kind of like leather origami a bit. Do a mountain fold, and then valley fold this leather. Oh my lord. Okay, so I have a little pouch there, and then this is gonna come down, and I'll have a little glasses case. Soon. Okay. Alright, so I need to find that little noseband piece for my template, which would be great. If not, I can always just maybe do without. Oh, there it is. Heh. So yeah, I am totally self-taught. I use a lot of books to help teach me, or online videos, or sometimes I'll even just go into my like Tandy leather store and be like, help! I'm trying to see if this scrap piece is big enough. Not quite. I have a bag o' scrap leather from, some of this was just from when I very first got that big trunk of leatherworking materials, and I went to like some other leatherworking place, and they had a bunch of scrap, and I just grabbed a bunch of stuff just to try out like different stamps and try out some of the tools and whatever. But oh, this should be good. I keep all my little offcuts and stuff because you never know what it might come in handy for. Like, what am I going to use this for? Who knows, but it's perfect for a little noseband. That's all I really need it for, so we love it. Okay, I might as well go to the end, right? So I still have more excess to use later if I want to. Why is this so loose? What is happening? So yeah, apologies if I'm repeating some stuff for my first one, but I figured I would just not like delete that first one, but we didn't see a whole lot. We saw me putting holes in here, you know? So yeah, usually to cut my leather, I use this guy. I think a lot of people use it for sewing and cutting fabric and stuff, but it cuts through leather just great. I'm trying to figure out, I remember this piece was like really difficult to cut. It was very awkward to do that like inside curve, but we're gonna do our best. And you know what? This is gonna be on the inside anyway, so it doesn't matter too much because it's just gonna support the noseband of the glasses. So I'm not trying to stress out too much about it, because if I stress out too much, then I won't cut it right. I feel like this is still loose. Is that better? I don't know. I don't know what's happening. I bought another like cutting and skiving knife. Skiving is, say, taking a thicker piece of leather and cutting it, what do you call it, like parallel, I guess, to the leather to thin it out, so that you have either the whole thing or like a section of it that's thinner, so that you don't have as much to, maybe, oh god, sorry, maybe punch a hole through, or if you're layering a bunch of pieces up, you might skive those sections down so that when they're all layered up, they're not quite as thick. So I have this knife, which looks cool, but I am honestly still learning kind of how to use it. It has been good for skiving, but getting those pieces of leather thin, but I definitely am like gouging some parts out, and then I have like some good parts and I have some really thin parts, and I haven't learned to be like super consistent with it yet, but we'll get there. I don't need to skive this down because it's already thin leather, but I guess you can also like cut out like pieces with it, but I'm used to using this, so I'm just going to use this because it's a tricky piece. But I have been learning a lot with this Leathercraft Tools book. when I got that huge trunk of leather crafting materials, it came with a lot of tools that I had absolutely no idea what they were meant for. And some of the stuff I had some guesses on, but I didn't really know how to use them. And so I got this book, and boy, has it been enlightening. And I like it too because it shows you how to sharpen all of your different tools, because some of these tools are really weird to sharpen and maintain. But yeah, this one's a good one. Recommend. Okay. Yeah, I'm glad I still have my big roll of leather that I used to cut these pieces off to the side here, and I was nervous I was going to have to roll that thing out just for this little piece, because I felt like that was kind of not worth it. So I'm glad I have my little scrap bag and I found a piece that was going to work. Okay, this piece isn't going to be perfect, but again, it's a-okay, because this is for me and my glasses. It's going to be inside the case. Gosh golly, okay. I'm going to round out some of these corners. Please. I feel like this blade is like very loose on here right now, and I'm not quite sure why. I just changed it recently, so I probably didn't do something right. Okay. I just got a notification saying I don't have enough space to keep recording, and I'm wondering what the issue is. Or I guess how to... Unless Twitch is directly recording it. I guess we'll see. Kind of suck if this isn't getting recorded, because I planned on putting it on YouTube, but again, we're learning. Anyway, okay, try to round this out a little bit, make it look kind of nice. I don't want it to be too janky. Round out the end there. Cool, I got my little piece. So that is going to sit here. So I'm gonna do this and just kind of stitch it like that. So I have, I think stitch it from here to almost the middle so that it kind of bumps up in the middle, and then my glasses can just rest on the noseband there. Let's see. Is that about right for... Yeah, okay. Okay, so I'm going to... I just made one of these like a couple months ago, and it's like insane how easily you can forget which, you know, steps go when. Yeah, because this would suck if I forgot to put in the noseband and then I stitched up the sides and I wouldn't be able to get in there and do the bottom part. So order of operations is kind of important for leatherworking. It's not always impossible to do things out of order, but it definitely makes your life more difficult if you don't sometimes. But so I'm trying to follow the little book I have here, just to make sure I don't go crazy. So, am I good? Am I in the way? Oh, thank you. I have my standing light here, and I moved it out of the way, but I think it's slowly moving. back.
I'm gonna have to get you a microphone because you sound like a goddamn robot.
Do I?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well.
I mean, it's fine, but.
Okay.
But for next time, I need to get you a microphone.
Okay.
Love you.
Love you. Always getting helpful advice. And yeah, if anybody knows what they're doing more than I am on this streaming stuff, I will always take advice, because I kind of know what I'm doing for leatherworking sometimes, but I don't really know what I'm doing for streaming. So I have my stitching awls here again. So I'm going to, let's see. Yeah, I'm just going to stitch a line down. I guess I'll mark it just to be consistent, I guess. I'll just go right down the middle. That's not really down the middle, but it's also not really a straight cut anyway, so that's okay. Okay. I think I'm gonna go for old reliable middle ground stitching prongs here. I have my press, my lovely, lovely press here. Do this. Put this guy in. Oh, nice, turned out straight. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to just start punching holes. So these stitching prongs make kind of a diamond shaped hole, and I think that kind of helps determine where the thread sits and everything, but yeah, they just make diamond shaped holes, and I usually do like 4 holes at a time, and I usually kind of press it like gently into the leather and get like a little impression of where it's going to go, make sure it's all lined up, and then go through and punch it. Before I had this press, I would have to take the individual prong, like this handle part can come out of the press, and I would have to just individually hammer all these holes in, which sucked. So, and it was loud. And the press is nice and quiet, and it ensures I get all the way through my leather, because that was another issue with hammering, especially through thick leather or a lot of layers, was sometimes I wouldn't make it all the way through, and then I'm like shifting things around, looking at where I'm getting caught up, and it would offset the holes, and I'd have a hard time stitching later, and it just was a nightmare. So I thought I had needles somewhere, but maybe I put them back in the container. I always lose stuff on my desk, which is why I have my Allen key literally affixed to my press so I don't lose it. Okay, I think I just put them back in here, so I'm just gonna grab them again. So this is just the offcut of the thread I used on this bit, but I have enough that I can definitely do this little section here and not have to cut a whole new piece of thread. So I try to utilize what I can and not waste as much as I can, but also not trying to like scrounge every scrap and make my life more difficult than it needs to be. I try to find a good mid ground. Alright, so I'm going to sew this side first, just so that I make sure it's all lined up and stuck down where it needs to be, because this part needs to get pushed up in order for me to put these holes down so that it comes up in the middle. So I'm going to skewer this end and see what happens. So yeah, like I said, I'm totally self-taught. I've been doing this since like late late 2021. So I guess going on, what, 5 years now of doing leatherworking. And funny enough, as long as I've been doing leatherworking, I still don't understand how to stitch stuff sometimes. You're gonna get me a microphone right now? Okay. I mean, I could try the other. I have the earbuds.
No, they have one for pretty cheap at Best Buy, but it attaches to the edge of the desk, and then you can just place it wherever.
Okay. Well, we may be getting improved audio here soon, folks. So, just stitching. Thank y'all.
Yeah.
My very dear husband is going to get me a new microphone because he was on this right now and said I don't sound good. So, yeah, he has been very supportive in not only streaming but the leatherworking in general. He tends to see issues that I have with my hobbies or difficulties, like for example, hammering every stitch in here, and he's like, hey, I could get you a press and just avoid that problem altogether, and has got me a lot of things like that to try to make my life a little easier, which I greatly appreciate. Ow, okay, stab myself. Yeah, I don't know how to, yeah, what I was saying before, not that I don't know how to stitch, but I still don't understand, I guess, how to stitch and get the stitches to line up how I want them to. Sometimes I do it perfect and my stitches look beautiful, and other times I feel like I stitch the exact same way and they turn out kind of weird and offset and not perfectly in line, and I don't know if that has to do with the way I'm feeding it in to the hole, and I don't know, I've watched videos on it and I still don't understand, but it's okay. Alright, so I'm not going to tie that off just yet, because I don't know if I want to do another stitch or two and make it tighter here. So this is fastened down for now, so I'm going to do the other side and then see how that looks. And I think I might throw another stitch or two on each side to make that narrower, I guess you could say. I'm struggling for vocab today. I meant to stream on Monday, which I did. Yeah, and then had major difficulties, and then I was like, I'll do it on Tuesday. And I got most of my supplies. I got the cords I needed and all the HDMI stuff for the camera so that I could stop using my phone and everything, but I needed a battery for the camera so that I can go through stream and not die. So I was waiting for that today. So apparently I need a new microphone, so who knows, maybe the audio will get better halfway through this. We'll see. But we're struggle busing it, but it's happening, you know. Punching holes. Hoping everything lines up. I usually, the last hole I punch, I start my first prong in that hole, so I make sure everything's all evenly spaced out. So I'm only really punching like 3 holes at a time, but maybe I'll do another like 2 over here. There we go. Alright, let me stitch that side down and see how it looks, and see if I need to throw more stitches on the end there using just some more offcut thread. yeah, it really sucks when you mess up something on a leatherworking project and you have to take apart a piece and you have to just sit there and undo all the stitching that you just sat there and did. So try to avoid that if I can, but it's just inevitable sometimes, and you learn from it, I tell you that. Yeah, so let's see. Okay. Just kind of going along here. Oops. I love when, after I got my press, it just made stitching so much easier, because before, like I said, sometimes if I didn't hammer it just right or hard enough, I wouldn't punch all the way through, so you'd see the dots in the back where the top of the tines like just started to get through the leather, but it wasn't fully, and so I had kind of a guideline of where to go, but I would just be forcing the needle through the leather, and the sores that I would have on my fingers and my thumbs after stitching, like, especially I made a briefcase for my husband, and I think that's the biggest project by far I've ever done, and there was definitely some sections on that I was stitching through like 3-4 layers of leather, and I was struggling and my hands were killing me. He has gotten me, since then he's gotten me, do I have it up here? Maybe I have it down below. I have it somewhere. Here it is. Nope, just kidding. I forgot where I put it. But it's made out of leather, funny enough, and it goes around your like palm, around your thumb here, and there's like a metal piece here that you can like set your needle, the base of your needle into, and then kind of use your palm to push through the leather instead of using, your actual flesh. So that's been a bit of a game changer, a hand saver, if you will. So I think we're gonna make another one of these for my husband. I think I'm assuming he wants this dyed. I'm gonna assume black, but I'll see what he wants, and if he wants anything punched into it or carved into it or anything, any special designs. And I'll do a cat on his. I have a fun template, like I was talking about earlier, the plastic ones, that there's a hissing cat one that I think is kind of fun, but I haven't got to use yet, so maybe I'll try that on here. Yeah, so I do leatherworking. I've done some taxidermy in the taxidermy streams before. I'm going to try to keep them pretty separate. Just, I don't know. Some people are into the taxidermy and don't want to see leatherworking, and some people are opposite and just want to see leatherworking and not taxidermy, and I'd rather people be able to just find what they want and not have other stuff mixed into it that's not really relevant to what they're trying to watch. So I think I'm going to try, I don't know if this video is recording or not, to be honest. If it is, then cool, I'll put it on YouTube. If not, then that sucks, and I'm going to have to write that down on my notes as something else to figure out for my next stream. But anyway, I got these two sides stitched down, and now you can see that they're kind of coming together to form that little noseband there. Debating on throwing like 1 or 2 more stitches on each to make that a little, I guess, narrower and sturdier. yeah, I'm definitely gonna do that. So I'll probably trade out the 4-prong for either 1 or a 2-prong. Oops, I'll take this out to get clearance. I think I'm going to take the 2-prong fork right there, and just kind of use the other hole as a guideline of where I want to put another stitch or so. So if I do it there, will that be better? I think so. Okay, so then I'm going to take the 1-pronged one, put it on here. And I mean, it's just 2 stitching holes. I absolutely could just bust out the hammer and drive those through, but I'd rather not. I have this thing and it makes my life so much easier. And I already have it out. So might as well. Get it straight, punch it through. Punch it through. Done. That can sit to the side. And the thing I especially like this for too, not only for stitching, but when I have to punch holes for, like later I'll have to punch holes to do the snaps. And where did my other needle go? Oh. I'll have to punch holes for the snaps, and that can be a bit of a pain doing that with a hammer. It shouldn't be bad on this because it's pretty thin leather and it's, 2 layers, but it makes a cleaner result if you could just punch through it in one go. Alright, so I'm going to do 1 back stitch. Ooh, that's a good question I should ask myself, is do I want, because my little burned ends on the here on the inside are going to be on the inside of the case. So this stitching here is going to show up on the outside. So do I want my burnt ends showing up on the outside or on the interior when you look at the noseband? Because ideally what I should have done is started sewing from here and had the little burned ends here, where they'd probably be hidden in the corner. But again, this is for myself, and it doesn't need to be perfect, so I'm just gonna go ahead and put those on the back, because that's already what I started doing, so I'm just gonna commit. Thread the needle. Push that through. And then do this one. Try to get it all the way. Tighten it. Do a back stitch. I'd probably do, another back stitch or so if it was something else. But again, this is just an eyeglass holder for myself that is going to be sitting in my purse for most of the time. I don't think it needs to be super, I'm not going to be like yanking on it or anything or trying to tear this thing apart. Okay, so cut those short, get my little lighter, burn the ends, burn, burn, flatten, burn, burn, squish down a little bit. There we go. Yeah, see, it was like, I was kind of, I don't know how much you can see of that, but it's not super straight. There's like 1 stitch here, and then the next stitch is a little lower, and the next stitch goes up, and it's kind of this stair stacking thing, which doesn't look bad if it's consistent, but when you have that, and then you have a bunch of straight ones, and then it goes again, it just looks off. So I believe, if I am not mistaken, my next step is to put these little edges here to start getting this all origamied more or less. Yes, it is. So this is kind of the hard part. Oh, and like I was talking about, order of operations. I think, when does this want you to put holes through for the snaps? Should I have already done that? Whoops. Okay. Add here, 4-prong. What is happening? Anyway, I'm gonna do this step now because I can. So basically what I was trying to figure out is I need to punch 2 holes roughly here and here for the receiving end of my snap to go. These are all magnetic snaps, so they're all stuck together. For the receiving end of my snap to go here, and another one here. Good golly, okay. Here and here, so that when I fold the lid down, this will have the other end of the snap and I can just magnetically close it. So what I was trying to figure out is I should probably do that now before I put these together, because otherwise I'll have to try to punch a hole through this now 3D shape, I guess, instead of having a flat surface that I can just punch 2 holes through. I think I also could have done this when it was completely apart. Before I even stitched this on, I could have put those in here, and then these backs would be concealed in between the 2 layers of leather and kind of sandwiched in between. I thought about that before I stitched this together, but the backs of these are nice looking and shiny and smooth and whatever, so I don't care if I see that on the inside of this. It's not going to bother me. So I was like, and it's thin leather, I could punch through both pieces of it and it'll be fine. So going to, I think this is my template where I'm supposed to be able to punch my holes through. It's like high. And that's the other thing too about this template is this template where I have these holes marked and stuff where I'm supposed to punch holes in is for how it's designed in the book, where it's got kind of the metal pin with the round end on top so that you can punch it through a hole on a piece of leather and it kind of stays there, and not for like a full snap. And this is going to take up more space than just that little post will, so I need to, because they want me to punch holes way up here in the corners, and that snap is going to be way up like in my stitch line, so I'm going to move it down probably just to make it look a little more aesthetically pleasing and so that it makes sense. So I might kind of semi-fold this up so that I maybe roughly know where the lid is going to land. Okay, so that's going to be like that somewhat. Lid's going to land there. So I'm going to want my snap maybe here and here. So I should probably mark that if I can. Maybe do it, okay, and then I have to also see how big the snaps are so that it's not, I can't do it too close to the edge or else the snap is going to be off the edge of my leather. So I'll do it maybe here. I'll be able to just, there you go, make a slight mark. There, maybe. And sometimes I get all precise with it and I get out my little tiny ruler and I see that like, okay, that's like 1.5 centimeters almost, and that's like definitely not, so I need to move that one up a bit. Just because sometimes I'm not great at eyeballing stuff, you know? And sometimes you eyeball stuff and you're like, you are not late to the party, you are right on time. Making an eyeglasses case. And I'm being all meticulous on how I want my snaps to be because I hate putting this together and then it ends up not being like symmetrical in any way, and then I feel bad. Okay, here we go. So, and then it's easier too when I lay it flat. I can eyeball it a bit better. When it's all folded up, it's kind of hard to eyeball. Okay, so I'm going to do about one there and one there. Punch holes. Perfect. Okay. So, that's the next thing is I have all these punches of varying sizes. Some are somewhat big, some are massive. Could do some pretty big holes with that, and some of them are like teeny tiny. So I have to find the right hole to punch, right size hole to punch so that these snaps will fit snugly and they're not too tight, but they're also not big enough, or not, so big that they're just like kind of flopping around. So what I usually do is I take the post of this and I take my punches and I kind of just eyeball them. I usually go a little bit smaller than what I actually need, just in case I do need to go a little bit bigger. I can, and it's not a big thing. I think I'm gonna go. Okay, thinking back. I don't know what's up with my headphones. I don't know if they're just like on their last legs or what the issue is, but I literally charged them before this and they just died on me, and I'm like, they should absolutely last longer than this. Um, but as we speak currently, my husband's out getting me a new microphone anyway, so we love that. um, I'm having a slew of technical difficulties, but I'm slowly knocking them out one by one, and before you know it, I should have a smooth stream, so we're getting there. So I'm gonna go with this one. Diameter feels about right for the post. So put these ones back, and if I need to go bigger, I can, but I like it to be a little bit snug, just not so much that I can't get anything through. Take my lovely press here again. Take my Allen key and raise this up. Oh my god, I did this one so tight. Jesus. Oh my god. Why did I do that to myself? Okay. And then I can loosen this up, take this whole thing out. My stitching fork, I guess. Put that in here. I have all my other ones. And then I can put this little guy in there and tighten it down. And then I can put this guy down. So I have this, it's just I don't know what material it is. Like plasticky kind of cutting board kind of block, so that I'm not when I'm pressing down to punch holes through my leather, I'm not putting the end of the tool onto the metal and damaging the kind of like cutting edge of my hole punches or on my stitching prongs. So this is just to keep my tools nice. And I have many holes in here. So I want to get this down pretty far. That's like almost touching, but I think I can still get the leather under there. I only have to go through one layer anyway, so yes, okay. Tighten this up so that I can punch through it and try and remember which markings were for my holes. Do one. Easy peasy. Alright, we got 2 holes there. And then that way, when I fold this up, and I fold it down, I can see where my holes are going to land on the body of the case, and I can hopefully, roughly, just kind of mark where I should punch the holes on this side. I don't know if those are even. Well, if they're not even, it's okay. Who's gonna know? Okay. So I have to raise this up a little bit because I'm punching through more leather and I lowered this kind of too much. But that's where it landed, so that's where I kept it. Okay. Put it like there. And I do have my noseband here, so this is kind of 3D object that I can't really lay flat anymore. So I'm gonna have to hang it off of like the edge of this when I'm punching, just so that it everything lays flat and it's nice. So I'll do about there. And cool. We have 4 holes punched now, and I'm going to install the receiving end of the snaps on this part. I can do these whenever, but so there's 4 parts to a snap. These are all magnetized, so they're gonna clump together. You have, I guess, like the button part, the bigger receiving end of it, your usual snap. They fit together lovely, and then they both have the little nice backing pieces. Cool. So that is for, this is all for one snap. So I need to do 2 sets of these for both. So I have, oh my god, it's magnetized to everything. Clear my desk a little bit. So I have receiving end and back, and I have button end and a back. Okay, so that's 1 snap, 2 snaps. It took me so long to figure out how to do snaps because some of them aren't this straightforward. There's like other weird pieces and you need other weird like presses and whatever to get them to join together, and it's not super intuitive, I guess, and I had to read through a lot of stuff to figure out how to put them together, but okay, so the receiving ends are going to go on the main body. Put that through, put the nice little back piece. They just slip on over. You can kind of squish them together, sandwich them. Same thing on this side. Oh, just kidding. That would have sucked to put the wrong snap on the wrong end. Okay, so now I have nice finished back pieces, and I have the receiving ends here. So these are, the pieces are together, but they're not secure. I can take these apart and still take these out of here. So I need to use some of these tools to really squish everything together. And I can also use this press for that, which is fantastic, because again, doing the snaps with the hammer, at least for me, was like impossible. Maybe they were just the snaps I was using, but I couldn't do it. So I have a bunch of different little press plates and things in here. Sometimes I don't know if I'm exactly using the right tools, but you know, if they get my stamp in there all secure, I don't think it really matters anyway, so. Okay, so I have this little circular plate, which is, what's the word, like concave, so that the nice backing of my buttons that's rounded out can sit in here, and when I press everything together, it won't flatten out or get any dents or anything in it, hopefully. And then I have this. It's got a kind of bump on the inside of it. There's like it's round and it's got a bump on the middle so that the middle part can go inside the snap and then push everything down. Pretty sure this is the right tool for this. I probably should use something with maybe more like surface area because this is a wider snap, but all the other like dimple parts are pretty long, and I want it more focused on the actual plate of the button and not the interior. Maybe I could use this one. I'll try that one. Okay. We're just trying stuff. We're seeing what works. I could use this plate too because it's got that little convex thing, although I think it's a little small for my button. This one's a little bigger, so I'm going to use that one. Again, got to raise up the press to get my tool out. I'm trying so hard today to be organized, because usually I have tools just like completely covering my desk and I can't ever find anything and it's a nightmare, but trying to be a little better. So yeah, this I don't need a little hole punching or cutting mat, I guess, because it's just going to go on this metal piece here. I could use this to like give it elevation if I need to, I guess, but I don't think I really need to. Yeah, so I'm going to put this on here and kind of leave that there just so I know kind of roughly how low to put this. Okay, so the back end is in that convex piece. This is going to go here, and I'm just going to squish. Beautiful. We love to see it. So now that is totally squished in there. It ain't going nowhere. This one I can still pop off. So we're going to squish this one now. Squish. Okay. Those both feel nice and secure to me. So I'll push that to the side for the time being. So we have the main front sewn, we have the noseband inside sewn down. I'm debating if I want to throw another stitch right there. That'll be okay. I just gotta mold it where I want it to be. And I have the receiving end of my snaps on the front. So I'm going to, my next step is I have to take the little flaps that are here, and I have to take this edge and line it up with this edge here and sew that down, which this is always the hardest part, is getting this to line up right and get it to look nice. So it'll be like that. So I'm going to, and the hardest part about this is getting this under the press and getting it all nice and lined up and all that. And then the second hardest part is doing the other side and making sure that like the top edges like line up with each other. Yeah, I am debating on using that tape stuff. I'm debating because it would hold everything nicely while I punch the holes, but I don't really have a lot of room to work with, so I would more than likely be punching holes and sewing through this tape, which kind of gums up my sewing needles and stuff, which I've done plenty of, and I need to clean off my needles because I have some pretty gummy needles, and it's not super, it just makes sewing harder. So I think what I might do, and what I've done before, is I just punch, you know, I get like say the four prong, that's not four prongs, that's a lot of prongs. I'll get like 4-prong punch sewing fork, and I'll punch 4 holes in here, and then I'll sew like the first 2 or 3 of them, and I'll leave one to kind of use as a guide for the next holes, and punch some more holes, and I'll kind of just like gradually sew my way down. Which, you know, probably isn't like the most effective, or not, I wouldn't say it's not effective, it does what it needs to do, so I'd say it's effective, but maybe not the most efficient method. But I just don't want to sew through all my tape again because it just kind of sucks. So yeah, that should definitely work. So that'll be like that. I'll have my little noseband inside. This will close up, and I'll put the other end of the snaps on here. Okay, well, let me get this situated first. That's another, I guess, efficiency thing that I'm not great at, is, especially when it comes to the press, I love the press, and it does make things more efficient in a certain way, but then I also, you know, in terms of like, again, the order of operations of things, I don't do all of the same step all at the same time, so I'm switching out tools a lot. Like I could have 100%, now that I'm thinking about it, put on the other snap pieces on the top here and used all the stuff I just had in there. I think I might have to change it anyway, but because I need the other end of this, but you know what I mean? Like instead of doing all the snaps at the same time and using, you know, the same tools for everything, I end up kind of switching back and forth a lot because I don't know, maybe I just don't think that far ahead, but okay, so I just have a single fork on here, which I totally stabbed myself with right now. Put that in here, put the four fork on here. Do I have enough clearance? I don't. Okay. Do need this. I think I hear my husband returning with my new microphone, hopefully, so hopefully my audio will be getting better here for a second. I might have to take a second and switch audio over, but it's all work in progress, so. Okay. So I'm going to fold this exactly where I want it. Hello.
Hello.
I did hear your car.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to get the edges lined up. And I should probably scribe a little line on the side. So I use this to, I can adjust it wider or narrower. And the one end goes along the edge of the leather, and the other end will make a little mark on the leather so I can line all my stitches up on it and hopefully make somewhat of a straight line. There we go. Beautiful. I think this right here is the hardest part of making this eyeglasses case. Okay, so I did 4 stitches there. Thank you. Did 4 stitches, went through both sides. So to just try to kind of keep everything lined up with each other, I'm gonna sew down those first couple holes so that when I do the next ones, it'll all kind of line up. So I'm gonna get more thread. I always lose my needles in my desk. Ooh, I'm getting a new microphone set up right now. Ooh, that's fancy. My headphones died while you were gone.
Those ones?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know what's wrong with them. I don't know if it's streaming is killing the battery or what, but I've never had these headphones die so fast.
Yeah, well, now you can have a good, nice microphone if I can get it freaking on the table. Okay.
And then I have, oh wait, can you plug it into the, do you want to plug it into that or the HDMI thing?
That is a
Or
good
no,
question.
that's got
No.
USB, it's got to go in there.
Yeah.
And then, hold on, you might not have audio for a second, give me a second, let me add another.
Yeah.
Add a audio input.
And then
I'll title it Nice Mic.
I just don't know how to turn it on. Is it not getting power?
Is there like a, what about, oh,
Oh, the port is loose.
do you want to switch it with the other one?
No, just try to add it first. So it should be
Should be fine.
fine.
Let me,
Cancel. There it is.
okay, I think that's, I think I should be good on that. Okay, is my, or no, it's not working.
No, I hear you.
You hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, it's just not showing up on the, oh,
Oh.
is it better?
Oh, it's so much
Thank
better.
God, okay, thank you.
We might want to plug it in later on into the back, because
Yeah.
that port is a little...
Okay. Alright. Goodbye, headphones. We don't need you anymore. I don't want to play with you anymore. Okay. Yay, we're upgrading as we go, you know? It's been a couple days. It's been a rough couple days, but we're working it out. We're making improvements. Okay. So, we're getting back to this. Like I said, I punched 4 holes in here. I have a piece of thread. So when stitching leather, you use 2 needles usually. And 1 needle on each end. I'm just gonna kind of, good God, I can't pick it up. I feel like those girls that have long nails and they can't pick up a dime off the counter. There we go. Okay. So I kind of go pull it straight so I get the halfway point there, so I'm working with even pieces so I don't end up shortchanged halfway through. And I'm just gonna kind of stitch a couple holes here. Okay, so I have a couple stitched there just so it has some sort of reference point to hang on to. Man, it's so much more nice, so much nicer talking without headphones on. I don't know why. I've never been a big fan of the over the big headphones. Maybe that's just me, but so I use. So I have 4 holes punched, and I use the last hole. Put my first prong in that last hole, so I keep all my spacing nice and even. Even Steven. Kind of lightly punch, see that I'm going to be lined up. Move over so I can punch 4 holes. Good God. That's the only thing I don't like about this this thing is it's a little slidey sometimes. But and then I'm just going to kind of keep where did my needles go? Oh. I'm just going to keep slowly stitching my way down so my holes don't get too misaligned, because that really sucks when that happens. Just makes it difficult to sew. So, great. Just gonna go a couple holes down. Do my next set of holes. Yeah, when the holes aren't totally lined up, you find yourself like fishing through and trying to kind of find where the hole is on the other side, and it just takes a lot of time and hurts your fingers. Okay, so I left myself with 1 hole left, so I have something to go off of. We're getting there. Probably have another set of 4 to go, and then maybe like an extra on the end, maybe. We'll see how many I get in here. That's the other kind of thing too about stitching is I have my cat outside, he's crying. The stitching is sometimes you're like, I kind of want to throw like an extra stitch there at the end because there's like kind of, you know, a bit of space left, but if you do 2 holes like way too close together, you can end up just kind of ripping through, and then you have a massive hole, and it's not really fun. I don't know if the microphone's picking up audio, picking up Oreo crying, but he has a very croaky cry. Don't you, Oreo? I think this is the second time I've made this pattern. I made one a couple months ago for my grandpa for Christmas. Alright, I'm gonna let my cat out just so he stops bugging. Luckily I'm right by the door, so. Get on out, me bud. Okay. Yeah. So, yeah, I made this for the first time a couple months ago. Turned out pretty okay, and I was like, you know what, I want one. So, here I am. Yeah, so I have, I don't know, maybe you can see or not, but I have 1 hole down here left, and I still have quite a bit of leather, so I think I'm going to put one more hole down there at the bottom. So I'm just going to luckily I don't have to undo this whole thing every time. That's what I'm super happy about with these stitching prongs, is that I could just change the heads out and not have to undo the whole thing. So this one came with some stitching forks, but they don't have like exchangeable heads on them, like it's just the whole fork itself, which I like how these look and they feel nice and everything, but it just, if I'm trying to go back and forth with stuff like this, it just kind of makes it harder. sometimes I'll just loosen it to straighten out the fork, because they make kind of diamond shaped holes, I guess you could say. And that's the one thing you want to make sure is that all your stitches are going the same way. Okay, I'm gonna do one more hole down here. If I can squeeze it in. Yes, okay, beautiful. So I can finish this side and move to the next side, which is always harder because I gotta make it even. Cool, so we'll tighten this up. Do a back stitch. Cut these short, lighter. Smoosh them a little flat. And we're almost there. So pretty much all I have left to do is to do this side. Make sure it's kind of lined up with the other side. Stitch that down. Good God. Stitch that down. And then this will kind of fold down a bit. And I can put the other end of the snaps there. We'll be done. Yeah, like I said, I didn't dye this or put any designs into it. What I should have probably done, and what I could still do technically, is put my little like maker's mark essentially on there. I went on Etsy and got my logo made into a leather stamp, which is really cool. And yeah, I think I might just do that, because why not? I gotta get it. I had to get it for my collection of things. So yeah, I have my little maker's mark on here. This does come off, so I guess I could put it onto something else. I think this handle is too, I think it's a little bit too big to put in this. I do have to hammer this, but it only takes a couple strikes. Yeah, obviously I couldn't put the entire vulture leatherworking on this tiny stamp, so I just have vulture, and I have the stars down below, and I have my little vulture head. I have it stamped on my watch and everything too, but yeah, I'm really happy with it, and it comes out pretty clean. So only thing is I need, when you are cutting into or stamping veg tan leather, you have to get it wet, so it can take the form, I guess. I have a cup of water here, which I guess I'll just dip into. Oh my God, it got stuck in my, I have a bear mouth cup holder, and my cup got stuck in there. Okay, I'm gonna drink out of it, and then I'm gonna dip my fingers in here. Because I only really need this little section wet. So when I fold it up, that'll be my mark down in the bottom corner there. So I'll get that wet, maybe a little more. I don't want to get it like soaking, but okay. And I'll get my hammer. I have a bunch of different hammers, but I like using that big kit that the neighbor had. Came with all these like rawhide mallets, which are kind of cool. And there's like 3 different sizes of them, which I don't know. Again, I always go for the good medium ground. I'm trying to figure out what to. strike this on. Oh, I know exactly what to strike this on. I think you guys will like this. I have a tiny anvil. Which, you know, I don't use it often, but when I do use it, it comes in perfect timing for exact moments like this. I mean, plus it's a tiny anvil, like why would I not want to use it? So, I'll put that there. I'll put my logo here, correct orientation, and I love who made this because they put a little arrow on the back here so that if I kind of like put the arrow facing myself, that'll be the logo upright and, you know, correct orientation and whatnot. So I'm going to about there. Let's see if I can get this to focus. Whoa. Okay, she fell off, but that's okay. Got a little vulture. Beautiful. Focus. Okay. I think that's kind of in focus, maybe a little more. My camera lens I have to like manually, I have to manually focus it. So, I'm working with what I got. But yeah, so that is pretty fast, pretty easy. And it just kind of adds my little flair to it. Yeah, so just imagine that hammering for every single one of my stitching holes that I had to do. So it gets old pretty fast, so I'm definitely glad for this. The only thing that sucks about this, again, is that handle, and I think it is too big for this, because that would be really nice and clean if I could just do one press and have it in there, because I have done it before where I went to hammer it into something and it shifted a little bit and kind of did that like mirror image of it, or like, I don't know what you call it, like double vision type thing, but you know, none of my projects are completely perfect, but that's what makes them mine, unique, and they're definitely handmade, so you can tell a machine didn't do it, that's for sure. There's my cat Jonesy coming to play. So, bud? Yeah, there's a new microphone over here. He's sniffing. You good? He's gonna show up a lot because he is clingy in the best way. And he brought me, what did he bring me? A wrapper of something. I think this used to be a mini Hershey's wrapper, which has been so played with it's lost all color. Let me throw it. Okay. He plays fetch. I didn't teach him, he just born knowing, I guess. Except for now, I threw it and he's not interested. Okay, so I'm gonna switch out my single fork for the quadruple again. So I can do the other side. And hopefully not cross thread this thing, Jesus. Okay, maybe line that up a little straight. Cool. Put this back under there. Take my, I don't know what you call this, like a scribe or something. Do my little line there to my guideline to follow for stitching. Fold this over. Those lined up.